This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Elizabeth Wilcox. The Outdoor Girls of Deepdale, or Camping and Tramping for Fun and for Health by Laura Lee Hope. Chapter 9. Off on the Tour. How do we look? Don't you think these skirts are too short? Isn't it fine to have pockets? Oh, Grace Ford, you'll never be able to walk in those shoes. Girls, just look at those French heels. It was Amy who spoke. They're not French, declared Grace, driven to self-defense. They're a modified Cuban. Not enough modifications, then. That's what I say, exclaimed Molly, the three expressions which opened this chapter having come from Betty, Grace, and Amy respectively. They're of the Frenchy Grace, my dear. I don't care. I tried to get fitted in the kind of shoes you girls have, and Grace looked at the stout and substantial walking boots of her companions, but they didn't have my size. The man is going to send for them, and he said he'd forward them to Middleville. They'll be there when we arrive. All right, as long as you're going to get them, spoke Betty. You never could belong to our camping and tramping club in those shoes, Grace. Well, they're the largest I have, and I don't think the heels are so very high, do you? And she appealed to the others. Here are Will and Frank, spoke Amy. We'll let them decide. Oh, Will is sure to say something mean, declared his sister. Don't you dare mention heels to him. Ready for the hike? Demanded Will as he came up with his chums. We start in half an hour, replied Betty, in the front yard of whose house the others were gathered. Gracious, I know I haven't half the things I need. What did I do with that alcohol stove? I saw you put it in the case, said Amy. Oh, yes, so I did. I declare I don't know what I'm doing. Now, girls, is there anything else to be thought of? If there is, I'm not capable of it, declared Molly. I'm a wreck, and she leaned against patient Amy for support. We'll go part way with you, offered Will. You shall not, exclaimed his sister. You'll make all manner of fun of us, and— No, we won't, I promise, exclaimed Frank earnestly. Oh, let them come, pleaded Betty. Then go get Percy, urged Grace. Don't you dare, cried Betty. Well, here comes Alan Washburn, anyhow, went on the tall girl. At least we'll have enough escorts. Betty blushed and hurried into the house on some pretense or another. The girls were to travel light, taking with them only a few articles of clothing. Their suitcases they had arranged to send on ahead, so that there would be at each stopping-place in the evening when the little party arrived. Then on leaving in the morning the satchels would again be dispatched in advance. Near the end of the route trunks would await them. The girls expected to get their dinners wherever it was most convenient, and Betty had drawn up a sort of schedule of sorts that they should be able to keep up to it would mean comfort at noon. As I have explained, the breakfasts and suppers would be eaten at the homes of friends or relatives. The girls had a little alcohol stove, a teapot and saucepan, and they expected, under favorable circumstances, to stop by the roadside and brew a cup of tea, each girl carrying an aluminum cup and saucer. Evaporated cream and sugar, to be replenished from time to time, formed part of their stores. Sandwiches, to be procured as needed, would form a staple food. The day was a perfect one for June. Clad in their new suits of olive drab, purposely designed for walking, with sensible blouses containing pockets, with skirts sufficiently short, stout boots, and natty little caps, the outdoor girls looked their name. Already there was a hint of tan on their faces, for they had been much in the open of late. They had assembled at Betty's house for the start, and were about ready to leave, though there seemed to be much confusion at the last minute. Their first stopping-place, at least for the night, would be the town of Rockford, about 16 miles away, where Betty's aunt lived. They expected to remain 2 nights there, using the second day to walk to a certain old historic mill that was said to be worthy of a visit. The good-byes were said, over and over again it seemed, and a number of friends called to wish the girls good luck. Betty, who had been voted into the place of leader, looked over her small command. What it lacked in numbers, it made up in attractiveness, for certainly no prettier picture could have been viewed than the one the girls presented that June morning beneath the trees in the big yard. Well, are we ready? Finally asked Betty. As ready as we ever shall be, replied Grace. Then what shall I say? Forward, march. Just say hike, cried the irascible Will. Don't mind him, cautioned his sister. Oh, I've left my handkerchief in your house, Betty, and she hastened to secure it. But finally, after a few more forgotten articles had been collected, the girls were ready to start. Mr. Nelson came out to wave a farewell, and his wife appeared to add more to her already numerous cautions. "What shall I do with that $500 bill?" asked Betty's father. "If the owner comes, shall I give it up?" "Don't you dare!" she cried. "At least not until we girls have a chance to see him. We want to find out about the romance back of it. Write to us if it's claimed." "All right, I will," he said with a laugh. "But it doesn't seem as though, after this lapse of time, that it would be called for. Good-bye. Good-bye. Good luck." This was echoed and re-echoed. Then the 4 members of the Camping and Tramping Club started down the pleasant country road, whereon the June sun shone in golden patches through the leafy branches of the trees. "A good omen," breathed Amy, who walked beside Betty. Will, Frank, and Alan brought up the rear, carrying the small valises or suitcases the girls had packed. The little cavalcade passed Molly's house, Mrs. Bellette appearing at the window to wave another farewell. The twins were not in sight. "For which I am thankful. They'd cry to come," said their sister, "and they're dreadful teases." As the girls and their escort swung around a turn in the highway a little later, about a mile from Molly's house, Grace looked back to cry out in almost tragic accents, "Look, the twins! They're following us!" And the others turned around to see Dodo and Paul, hand in hand, trudging bravely and determinedly after them. End of Chapter 9.